We made it to Friday, Spags, and we are looking for redemption on our Ride or Die picks. And we have a very special guest joining us today.
We do. We are going to be joined by the great Pat Kerrane from NBC Sports Edge and, of course, the Ship Chasing podcast. We are going to do a little game with him, too, as one of the foremost Ronald Jones stands out there. Do a little Ronald Jones high-low to see how Rojo did in week 1 compared to the running backs. Going to talk about some news, and then we'll do our Ride or Die picks for every single game in week 2. So, Pete, hit that intro. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Splash Play, the fantasy football podcast for every game under the sun. And once again, I am Chris Spags, joined by the man you know and love. You're probably watching this on his channel. He's Peter Overzet. How you doing, Pete?
I'm doing good. This is our last week, or yesterday, I said it was our first Thursday show ever, which was wrong. But I do feel confident that this is our first time completing 3 shows in a week together.
I think that's true. I feel like, we only did 2 in the beginning part. So it is for a momentous occasion, like this one. We got a special guest here where I introduced him up top, but it's Pat Kerrane from Ship Chasing and NBC Sports Edge. How are you doing, Pat? How was your start to the NFL season?
I'm doing good. Yeah. I mean, it was a wild week 1 for sure. This is like kind of the new routine, right? You get your waivers going. You get all the articles. I've got a new article that's coming out later today. So that's the first time I've written that. Kind of like settling into stuff. Got all the in-season content you consume. Everything shifts as soon as we get that first week of football.
So make sure you are following Pat Kerrane on Twitter at Pat Kerrane. Pete, go ahead. Sorry, I was doing the plugs here. We're trying to make everybody look good to start here now that we're a professional operation, despite doing nothing professional at any single time in the show.
No, I was going to tee Pat up for a plug too, because we were brainstorming the name for this column that he was teasing, and I'm wondering what name actually won out, Pat.
It's the name that you guys suggested. I believe Pete was the one that came up with it. Friday walkthrough. That's what we're going with.
Wow, that's, honestly, at Football Outsiders, I think we have a Monday walkthrough as well. So I think there might be some gimmick infringement going on, Pat. I don't know if we're going to have street wars here on our first show.
Oh, wow. This is
no
awkward.
wars. On Mondays, you can check out Football Outsiders and then come over to NBC Sports Edge on Fridays. There's different days. There's more than enough time in the week.
But the premise here, Spags, and I'm going to defend the Friday walkthrough here, is that's when NFL teams do their final walkthrough before the game. Well, I mean, these guys aren't walking through on Monday. They're icing
I think
up.
they take Monday off, so yeah.
Honestly, it might not even be Monday. I don't know the editorial calendar yet, guys. Don't embarrass me on our show. Presented by Football Outsiders. And, of course, people can subscribe over at footballoutsiders.com/subscribe. Get FO Plus in your life. Get DVOA and all those numbers and some of the columns. The walkthrough, I think, is a free column, so you don't get that as part of it. But, Pat, I feel like the one thing I have to say to you is that, obviously, on Splash Play, I do shows with Pete. And I have to say, I watched the Ship Chasing shows, what you guys did all summer long. And a lot of great gains for you guys, making strides, whereas we're starting to catch up, like fractionally, I think, relative to what you guys have done, but it's blowing up too. Like, you have the NBC thing, you have the Ship Chasing thing. How are you juggling the many facets of Pat Kerrane?
Not that well, it's like you kind of lose some sleep. I gotta like talk to Pete. Pete seems to have like blocked off every 15-minute window of his calendar and is hyper productive. So I need to figure out like how do I get everything going, because I'm very excited for this article that's coming out later, where I'm going to be doing like a stats-based preview of the week, basically. But I do need to figure out how to get more sleep factored in with Ship Chasing and NBC Sports Edge.
Is the puppy still keeping you up at night as well, or is he sleeping better?
No, he's keeping me up because when we were in Vegas, I had him stay at this woman who was boarding him. He's not neutered yet, so we couldn't like just put him in kind of the public spots. So it was like a friend of a friend who watched him. But she was crate training him, and he's not very good. He's like essentially not crate trained. And she was like, so this is like a problem that you guys need to work on. So I'm alone this week. Brittany's in California, so I'm I'm putting the dog in the other room, and then he wakes up like 3 times a night and barks. Because he's not crate trained, because we didn't do what we were supposed to do when he was a puppy. We just let him run around loose so we get more sleep. So now I'm doing it. I don't know why I picked. I mean, could picking week 1 of the NFL football season to crate train a puppy was probably not the right move. But that's what I'm doing.
Do you know the pro tip with that, though, is that they can hold their bladder as long as however many months old they are +1. So that's like, so I remember that when I had my Labrador, where we'd be getting up, I got her at, I think, 1 month in. So we were waking up every 2 hours at night to take her out, then every 3 hours. But that's the one thing I would say from crate training, because I feel like, dog rearing, difficult. Crate training is the one thing that I feel like you can get down to a science.
He's 10 months old. So, he's not barking because
so he should be good.
He's just like really needy. Honestly, like, he just.
Pat coddled him, and now he's paying the piper.
I've coddled him so hard.
You've coddled too many people in your life if we're going to not name names here. Maybe on the show.
Oh, wow.
I don't know.
This walkthrough stuff is really spilling over into the rest of the episode.
We appreciate all you guys for tuning in. Of course, make sure to hit the like button whether you're watching on Peach Channel, the Splash Play channel. Make sure to follow at Pat Kerrane, follow at Peter Overzet, and follow at Chris Spags. And also follow at Splash Play Pod, because we follow back everybody on there, unless you're a private account, because we don't want to be weirdos and scope. I don't know, really snoop into your window, I guess, like a peeping Tom is how it feels like when you follow a private account. But everybody else, we're following on at Splash Play Pod on Twitter, on Instagram. So please do that. And let's talk about some of the news, guys. We got some injuries that actually matter for the week. And this is a big one, Pete. I saw your Fantasy Life newsletter that I feel like the titling of it just seemed alarmed about the Will Fuller situation. But Will Fuller out again due to a personal issue. Flores, the quote was, he's going to, quote unquote, will respect Fuller's privacy and not reveal more, but it came as a surprise to him. He doesn't know if Fuller will join the team this season. So, Pat, you are, as we talked about, one of the leading best ball experts out there. You've been doing this since before there were even rosters out there, basically, with some of the shows you're doing. How do you feel about this news for Will Fuller, given a lot of people investing in him and thinking he's going to be the medicine here for a lot of what's ailed Tua over the last year?
Yeah, it's not great. I mean, I have a ton of Will Fuller in best ball. Pete and I have a ton of Will Fuller in our high stakes portfolio. I believe he's our most rostered player across all of our high stakes teams. So heavily invested in Will Fuller's season. He was just mispriced this year. Obviously, no one knows what's going on with the personal issue. But, putting that aside, he was just completely mispriced, I thought. So I feel like it was the right process to load up, get even more exposure than, maybe I would with another type of player, just because he was probably mispriced by 2 rounds. I'm still not panicking over this. I mean, from some of the beat writers that I saw, they were like, Flores doesn't really comment on anything. So the comment about him not being around for the rest of the season, he was just like, I'm not going to comment on that, is the way I think. That's how I'm reading it. So no one knows. No one knows what's going to happen with this, but I don't think we should start to read into the idea that he's going to miss like the rest of the season or not be with the team. Hopefully he'll be back in week 3.
I did think it was a weird choice of words, though, for him to say, to like even float the idea that he might not be back, because someone then asked Fuller and he said he was taking it day to day. Normally the coaches use that language all the time, day to day, week to week, we'll reevaluate next week. So just the fact that he even tossed that out there made it seem like maybe subconsciously Flores does have some concern that whatever this issue is might not just be able to be resolved super quickly.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, definitely some risk profile there. And we are seeing in the chat, Corey saying, Will Fuller's personal issue is taking food from my family, so hungry. As we all know, there's one thing that players out there care about more than anything. It is, in fact, how fans at home are feeling about them relative to their expenditures. So we got to pour one out for poor Corey right now.
Yeah, and I mean, as far as, for DFS this week, for lineup setting, I mean, I think we roll into another good week here for both Waddle and Parker. Pat, are there any other guys that you think you want to kind of bump up a little bit more with this news?
No, I'm pretty bearish on Gesicki. I don't like at all his setup. His routes out of the slot were way down from where they were in 2020. I think Waddle's hurting him there. It's not like Waddle completely locks him out, because they'll have him in the slot with Waddle in the slot as well and basically kind of do like a fake 4 wide receiver set. But he's not playing like he used to. The kind of like the slot wide receiver with tight end designation thing is gone with him. And he's also splitting time with Durham Smythe. And then Adam Shaheen is back this week. He had COVID. He's going to be back. So there's an additional tight end he's going to be rotating with. So I think Waddle and Parker, the guys. I'm less excited about this offense overall, though, because they weren't particularly pass heavy They ranked 29th in pass rate over expected in week 1. I was hoping that with Fuller, they were going to kind of unleash Tua, and there's going to be in this kind of shootout script with the Bills. It's a little harder to see that now. So I just kind of losing a little bit of enthusiasm for the offense overall as well.
Yeah, worth pointing out too, Mike Gesicki ran 17 routes in week 1, so that's definitely a drop off, 10 less than some of the wide receivers, Waddle and Devontae Parker. So something to keep an eye on here with some of the bodies coming back in. As Pat mentioned, another injury that matters, Odell Beckham out again. Last week we saw Anthony Schwartz be one of the top air yards guys out there. There's the first mention for the show, so everybody out there, get their drinking out of the way right away. But Pat, how are you feeling about Anthony Schwartz in this spot, or I guess the Browns overall, in a week where they had one of the highest totals on the board, over 30 implied points for them going against Houston, where they're a 13-point favorite against the Houston team that was shockingly spry in week 1.
Yeah, Anthony Schwartz was really impressive. He had a very strong yards per route run right out of the gate. We thought it was going to be Donovan Peoples-Jones who was going to be the guy here, but immediately Schwartz was getting peppered with targets. But Peoples-Jones actually ran more routes. He ran a route on 84% of dropbacks, Schwartz at 55%. So I don't think you want to kind of overreact. Like, I wouldn't expect that they were just going to kind of flip that and all of a sudden Schwartz will have the bigger role. If anything, I think that Jarvis Landry is probably the most interesting guy here. He was efficient last week. He had a 2.63 yards per route run. He's now set up with these double deep threats in Schwartz and Peoples-Jones, and he's the guy who can clearly kind of eat in the intermediate area and in the shallow area of the field. Even David Njoku is used primarily downfield. So there's lots of ways they can stress the defense deep, and then Landry can have a high volume role underneath. So he's my favorite way to attack from the Browns side in terms of the passing game.
Pete, what are you thinking here in this spot with no Odell again, high total spot? We saw Nick Chubb kind of dominate a lot of the scoring in that spot. So who do you think there's a beneficiary in Cleveland, or I guess is there one overall?
Yeah, I was talking about this with Beimfor a little bit ago because someone was wondering if Landry would be another good DFS play. And I mean, I think he's priced up at 6,300 and it's a 12.5 point spread. So I would much prefer Landry in the spot where it's a closer game. They might be forced to pass a little bit, but if this goes any way that Vegas thinks it's going to go, then I mean, they're just going to run the crap out of the ball. So I don't mind Landry, but I just feel like there's so many other ceiling guys there. I guess we can see where the ownership settles on Schwartz, because like Pat said, he did look good. But again, he's not the kind of profile that you want to chase at high ownership. You want him, sub 5%, so you can feel good about the spike week if you get it.
And then some other injuries here to get through real fast. Jamison Crowder. We're also going to look at some of the questions in the chat too. I see some good questions being asked. So don't worry, we'll cover all that stuff too. Jamison Crowder, Keelan Cole on track to play this weekend. The Jets in a projected pretty low scoring game in this spot as well. The total on this one, let me just make sure I have the most recent one. But the total in this one looks like for them, 18.5 implied points. New England, a 6-point favorite going on the road for that spot. But Pete, I'll ask you first. Corey Davis, a guy who looked really good in the week, and we saw also Braxton Berrios get a good amount of run as well in that slot receiver role. Do you think having Jamison Crowder and also have Keelan Cole back in the mix, is this going to be something that does materially hurt Corey Davis this week?
Maybe. I mean, Zach Wilson just feels like he absolutely loves Corey Davis. I don't know. I would maybe be interested in kind of going back and buying the dip on Elijah Moore. He burned basically everyone last week who was jamming him in. So I think going back to him, because he did have decent air yards usage, and Pat can probably speak to it more than I can. But if Corey Davis catches a decent amount of ownership, I'd probably rather galaxy brain myself back to Elijah Moore.
Pat, how about you here? Do you have any interest at all in this Jets wide receiver core that, could benefit here? Zach Wilson throwing the ball downfield, did that in college too. Is this a spot where you're going to trust any of these guys this week?
I don't think so, especially if the field is into Corey Davis after, a strong week 1. I would rather just fade the Jets, which I think is an easy fade. Wilson was last among all quarterbacks in expected points added per play. He was not good. Once you filter out garbage time, once you take the win probability filter, get rid of the garbage time, because he had Denzel Mims was on the field for when Zach Wilson looked good. That tells you just how kind of garbage timey it was. And when the outcome was actually in doubt, he was the least efficient quarterback in the league. He faced a ton of pressure. He faced pressure on 51% of his dropbacks, third highest in the league. He had a 31% completion percentage on those plays. He had some big plays, His yards per completion under pressure was 21.8. He had some big plays to Davis. He could have had another big play to Elijah Moore, but the ball went right through his arms. But I'm not interested in taking Zach Wilson in his second start going against Bill Belichick. After he just played pretty poorly under pressure overall, and I think is going to face a lot of pressure this week as well. So I think the easier move is just to find another pivot at wide receiver on a different team.
I also have to point out here, Pete, I laughed at it, but Pete didn't even respond. The Denzel Mims shade now, Pete, are you just accepting it that we're saying that Denzel Mims is basically a garbage time receiver after you thought he was going to be the next Jerry Rice?
I mean, the 3 snaps is honestly a victory. It seemed like he wasn't even going to ever see the field again. So, like, we're victory lapping those 3 snaps, baby.
Any other injuries, Pete, that you think are worthwhile? I have Zach Ertz on here, but I don't know that we want to keep doing the Zach Ertz thing at this point in our lives.
Yeah, I mean, the only other one I kind of wrote up today is yesterday, both Jamal Williams and DeAndre Swift were limited. I don't think it's necessary, super cause for concern, but if we get more limited or more bearish on them, I think Jamar Jefferson is a guy you could kind of just stash for the next 2 days and maybe churn out if it doesn't work, because he would be pretty interesting if one of those guys were out.
All right, so let's keep it going here. And guys, make sure you are hitting that like button. Also, if you are not subscribed to us on Apple Podcasts, do that now. Go subscribe and give us 5 stars and a review. If you missed some of the shows this week, we are doing 3 days a week, 2:30 Eastern, Monday, Thursday, and Friday. But we are also giving away guest spots and randomizer boxes if you just leave us a 5-star and a review rating on Apple Podcasts. So go, if you want to be a part of this magic that's in the air right now on the show, please go subscribe and also give us 5 stars and a review. And you could be on here on Splash Play, throwing shade at Denzel Mims just like the rest of us. But it is time. You have a rebuttal, Pete?
No, that's how you get kicked off the show and end your guest spot very quickly.
Oh, that's sad. I mean, I got kicked off the show yesterday, so it happens to the best of us is what I would say.
Yeah, what did you do? What was the offense?
I think I was just existing was probably...
No, I think you took a shot at Laird, which was just so
that actually I did. That's it. No, I said we should point out he's on the practice squad. He's ready to strike at any moment. It's, if there were a Gaskin or Ahmed issue,
No, the tone was very condescending and deserving of a timeout.
Speaking of a tone that's condescending, it's time for Ronald Jones high-low, where we all know high-low. You're drafting 2 cards. You see which one comes out higher. Pat, I'm sure you know as well as anybody, is one of the foremost Rojo stands out there. Tough week 1 for Rojo, not getting a lot of love. Apparently the outlook will be better moving forward. But first of all, I guess, what do you think about the prospects? I'll ask that. What are the prospects for Rojo, Pat, moving forward? And then second of all, how do you feel about this game where we're going to be comparing basically any running back to Rojo and seeing if he won out in terms of any stats?
You're going to compare stats from week 1 to Rojo stats?
That's the game that we didn't have a lot of time to think of a bit for you,
What
Pat,
have I done to you? Like, literally, I mean, pick anybody. They're going to... If you pick Zach Mott's, it's probably better. Like, what are we doing here? Yeah, I don't feel great about that part of it. I mean, the Rojo back from the dead narrative is pretty funny. I mean, Bruce Arians said he's starting the game, and then later clarified to mean that he is a starter, but also Leonard Fournette is a starter, and also Giovanni Bernard is a starter. So they're all starters, I'm pretty sure they're not going to run a 3 running back set on the first snap, so that's not true. So it's all meaningless.
I really don't want to help you relapse that, but the Bucs are 12.5-point home favorites against the Falcons. And as Corey says, it looks like a smash spot for Rojo. You better have a sprinkle in your Pat. If you don't have a single entry GPP team with Rojo, you lose the card.
All right, I'm gonna go over to FanDuel. You got to play for the touchdowns.
On FanDuel.
I'm gonna do it on FanDuel. Hey, if I'm playing maybe I'll do it on Yahoo. That's when you really know.
Wow. All right, so let's try it this way then, because I think we all know it's a low line here for Rojo. So let's see if you guys could come up with a back that actually did play some snaps and hopefully got a touch in week 1 that would be a little bit lower than Rojo. The first stat I'll ask, Pat, intended touches, or so mixing targets plus the rushes that Rojo had. I have him at 4 intended touches in week 1. Can you guess a running back that would be less in terms of intended touches than Rojo is?
Sony Michel.
But who actually played?
He
played?
He played? Did he play? But he didn't touch the ball at all, did he?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah,
no, he did. You know what? All right, you win this one. Sony Michel had 1 rush for 2 yards. So
yeah. There you go.
Pete, how about you? Give me a back that might have been beaten by Rojo in his week 1 showing.
All right, Jeremy McNichols.
Don't screw it up.
Okay. Jeremy McNichols, in fact, had, let's see. Oh, no. He had 4 targets and 2 rushes. So he had more than Rojo in week 1.
Wow. And I really failed there. How about Alex Collins?
Okay. Alex Collins.
He was a healthy scratch.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, Penny then got hurt. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So very close with Rojo on that one.
Here's one for you. Do you think Jarrett Patterson of Washington had more intended touches than Rojo did?
No, he did not.
Pete?
I'm gonna say he did.
He did not. He had 2, but it's right in the hunt there. He's really half a Rojo, I feel like, give or
Right
take. Adjust for standard deviation. We're right there.
If you have 1, you're in the hunt.
Yeah.
He
I
had
like
4.
how we brought Pat on to just rub his nose in the Ronald Jones shit.
Yeah, you did. I know he got benched. I'm not denying he got benched.
We threw this segment together at the last second. Apparently, it's not working.
How about Cordero Patterson? Do we think he had more than Rojo?
Yeah, he had more. Yeah,
he did have more, and in fact, he had more of a higher share of the yardage than Mike Davis as well. So we could all hurt from that. Then I guess is another way to do it. Honestly, I don't love this bit, Pete. It just feels mean. Button. It's a gone bit, but Pat, make the sales pitch for Rojo one more time.
I love that this is this bit mixed with Pete bullying me into playing him in DFS this week. Like I'm getting him from both sides. Man, he was so bad. But you better play him.
Yeah, look, I mean, we got to know when a bit works and when it doesn't. And usually Pete and I brainstorm, but Pete was busy with his show. I just set my chat over. We like to do our guest-specific bits. The alternative, Pete, would have been if we had Pat look at ships like we did for who was it that we did that last year? Hardits. We had Hardits looking at helicopters.
Oh, at helicopters.
Football players. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
If I had more time, my other idea would have been to like go through old Bruce Arians quotes and see if you could guess which player he was talking about, because Arians is just. That guy talks just
He's
so
a big
much
liar.
shit. He's just all over the place.
Yeah, he really enjoys lying. Kyle Shanahan, Bruce Arians really enjoy lying.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's do so. I think we've kind of done this already, but Pete, we're bringing back some bits from last year. I feel like we might as well segue into the troll equity / troll play of the week. We'll do the ride or die picks after that. But of course, the troll play, Pete, the play that we know is most likely to screw over a large portion of fantasy players' preconceived notions of what's going to happen in a given week. Some obvious chalk out there that we could talk about. Najee Harris could be very highly owned. Apparently, Chris Carson going to be highly owned. Mari Cooper, it looks like, going to have some ownership. So just some thought starters there, Pete. But who would you have for your troll play of the week here heading into week 2?
Yeah, you mentioned Najee. He's going to be extremely popular. Also, everyone very, very down on Big Ben after week 1, rightfully so. I think the troll play of the week is Big Ben, like, tosses a couple touchdowns, and they're like random ass touchdowns. We're talking like James Washington, Pat Wilhelmuth, all the good stuff there. And then also he rushes one in from the 1, a QB sneak. Everyone's just salivating for the Najee goal line carry, and Big Ben sneaks it in for the 1 for the troll play of the week.
All right, Pat, you kind of get the principle there from Pete. I think that's a reasonable one to look at. Who do you think has the potential to be a troll play, I guess, besides Roger just rubbing it in our faces, but that wouldn't be a troll play to you, so I don't know if that counts.
Well, looking at who's expected to be chalky, I think you have a couple options. Van Jefferson would be a nice one to go back to. Personally, I mean, that would be a fun troll play because Ben Gretch would be absolutely tilted again if Van Jefferson has 2 strong games to open the season. But also, Cooper Kupp's going to be pretty chalky. So we can all tilt together if Van Jefferson, an absolutely terrible second-round pick, goes off this week.
And we did have some people in the chat talking about just stacking up the Chargers-Dallas game, which is one with a pretty high total, over 54 in most books out there. But I will take as a troll play, and this guy's actually going to be okay ownership, or I guess a little bit more owned than I would have guessed. But Ezekiel Elliott coming into this game, putting up a 25-100 line, somehow getting some pass catches, making it so this game just really doesn't work on either side. I don't know the likelihood of that happening. I do think Zeke has not looked as good as Tony Pollard for probably about a year now. But the idea, guys, of I think Zeke coming in and somehow ruining this beautiful, pristine pass game matchup it brings me joy in my heart, but also just really the trolling would be strong and just chef's kiss.
Is that can I bet on that? Because it seems like Zeke can be somewhat chalky. Because I was kind of intrigued by making that exact troll play as a real is a real core play of my week. But I think if I don't want to do that, Zeke's chalky.
Yeah, ETR has him at 20% right now, 18.8.
All right, Osmo has him at 10, so I think that might be, maybe people are disagreeing on that. 20% seems high for a guy who played that poorly. Like we know, a lot of the casual players do drive that ownership. It is Zeke, but I don't know.
I think that you have two factors going for Zeke. You do have a little bit of, the field is sharper and they think that the usage is still going to be good. He's not going to play the Bucs defensive line every week. And then on top of it, you have him as the trendy, like, I think it's a contrarian pivot, but it's not contrarian.
Yeah.
It's like, because Cooper and Lamb are such incredible plays that people are gonna be like, oh, like, just like Pat said, like the early week was like, oh man, Zeke's the guy. But then all of us are going to say Zeke's the guy throughout the week and then he's 20%.
Yeah, I like making lineups early in the week, and then I kind of mix them all in a bag later so I don't get tied to the early ones. But when I do that, I often end up on chalk plays that I think are going to be contrarian, and I was immediately gravitating to Zeke. I was like, oh, this is great contrarian play, and so I agree with Pete. I think it's going to be the fake contrarian play that everyone ends up on.
So, yeah, my gut tells me that I think just you look through the numbers here where we had Amari Cooper with 17 targets, CeeDee Lamb with 15 targets in week 1, and also, Gallup being unavailable. I think that the ownership for Cooper and Lamb gets closer to 25 to 30%. And then Zeke, I would say, obviously I might be biased to the Osmo ownership projections, given that they have helped me make a lot of money over the years, especially in NBA. But I would say for this one, I think Zeke is going to hold the 10%. And I think if you're talking yourself out of it, I would just be reluctant to do that. I would be at least with the field then. If you like him, be with the field then on ETR's 20%.
I'm not going to be with the field on Zeke.
Yeah. It's easy to talk ourselves out of Zeke. I mean, I need 5% on Zeke.
I need massive leverage if I'm putting Zeke in my GVP lineups.
Yeah,
what about Pollard? Now we can start to have
okay.
That's the real Galaxy brain. And that's actually an interesting point here by Corey, because we probably talk about this for a second too, saying DK contests are so evolved that you have to pivot off the pivots, play Pollard. I think there's something to that. I think that's actually an issue I have with industry-wide with ownership projections. Is I think they're kind of operating off of this platonic ideal of people not knowing as much as they do know, and not using ownership projections and all of that. So I guess is that how do you guys feel about that? Because I do think there is a risk of certainly galaxy braining yourself out of, as Pete has talked about a lot in his shows, out of some of these plays. But Pete, are you maybe sensing that could be the case, that just people too hyper aware of these things, and then the ownership just ends up kind of muddied as a result?
Yeah, I mean, I was saying it earlier too. I think it is important to track ownership movements. Look at the early week, first look one, check in on it again on Friday, listen to, some content over the weekend, and then Sunday, look at it again. All those sites, ETR, Osmo, update their ownership Sunday morning. And I think you can really get a feel for where sentiment is moving just looking at those shifts and kind of the change logs there. And I think you can be aware with it, because there are, someone in the chat earlier said, are we going to galaxy brain ourselves off of that Chargers thing? If we get really, a strong headwind of everyone saying this is the chalk game, avoid it, maybe it does fall back a little bit. But I think the most interesting thing for this slate for DFS is how many good games we have late, to where it almost doesn't matter, because you're going to be able to make those decisions with so much information from the 1 p.m. games. And then you can choose, if you're rolling early, you can eat some Lamb or Cooper chalk. If you're behind, then you can't play it. So I feel like the decision will always be good for you.
I also think there's you can get contrarian. I wouldn't be playing Pollard because that running back spot's so valuable. I don't want to be. That feels a little bit galaxy brain to me, but the tight end spots aren't that valuable. You could talk yourself into them playing more 2 tight end sets without Gallup, and Schultz, was already fairly heavily targeted on his routes. If he runs a few more routes, you could do a Schultz and then play the Chargers side of it primarily, and then maybe you mix it. Maybe you get a Lamb going too, but you don't have to get Lamb and Cooper. So you can. I feel like you can figure out. You can kind of let the field decide where it wants to be, and then kind of figure out ways that you can get in there and get a little taste as well.
And it's Mookie in the chat, I think, with the take here that probably sums it up the best. And now everybody's pivoting off the pivots and playing Pollard, and therefore Cooper and CeeDee become underowned. I think that could end up being something of a reflection of the case. I would say probably more at single entry more than anything would be one of my thoughts. But I don't know. Pete, if you wanted the single entry take, feel free to throw it in.
No, I just like the chat getting progressively more like levels on levels on levels. We got Alex now tossing out a Schultz Guyton. I mean, we are one away. Someone do the Donald Parham thing in the chat that we can put a wrap on this conversation.
Schultz Guyton is to Galaxy Brain for the Millie Maker. I mean, that would be nuts.
That's for the the 10 million person contest.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so let's go game by game here and do our ride or die picks. And Pete, please give the explanation once more of ride or die picks, and please include in the explanation who won week 1.
I actually don't know. That's kind of our accountant's job to kind of look into and take care of that stuff. Yes, ride or die. We go through the game. You can make a pick of your choosing. It can be fantasy related. It could be sports betting. And basically you get rewarded based on how aggressive you are. The way I like to think about it is if you're taking like a spread bet, say you're taking Falcons for 12.5, like the odds of that are roughly 50%. So that's a 1-pointer. If you're getting a little bit more aggressive, say a money line bet, or say a player over 20 DraftKings points who's projected for 13 or 14, that's a 3-pointer. And if you get really crazy, Hail Mary, like Jalen Guyton, top 10 score on the slate, that's a 10-pointer. So 1, 3, or 10 points. Spags and I, me especially, tend to go very aggressive and have awful records. It is up to our guest, Pat Kerrane, to decide how he would like to play this.
Yeah, so there it is. And also worth pointing out, Pete, I know you saw the tweet, but I did victory lap very early to Terry McLaurin captain yesterday because we both ruled him out right away as saying, like, we can't pick him for ride or die picks. And I think we might need to think more about that because we're going to hurt our pick record if we start ruling out guys that we both uniformly agree are the best plays.
Have I ever been concerned about my pick record, Spags?
That's a good point. I guess that's been true. That's the results show, I think, that you have not cared nearly enough. But let's do it, guys. And also make sure we are, of course, presented by Football Outsiders. So go to footballoutsiders.com/subscribe. Going to be talking a lot about DVOA throughout this process. So go get some of that data in your life. Very cheap packages over there. And of course, check the details as well for some of Pete's various partners, including Run the Sims, that does a great job giving additional data. And NBC Sports Edge as well, doing great data as well. So if you're doing just one data source, you are doing a disservice to yourself out there. So get a lot more in the mix. Be a part of it. Let's go the first game. I am concerned about my record. I want to win. I want to be the best, like no one ever was.
All right.
To catch wins is my real test. Anyway,
just relax.
First game up, Houston, 17.5 implied points against Cleveland, 30.5 implied points. Books line on this one is -13. The Edge Sports line, edjsports.com, where that's a company I work for now. They run 100,000 simulations. They have it as a 10-point line. And since, Pat, you are the guest here, pick any bet, DFS play, or fantasy, I guess, marker that you want to hit here for this game.
This is the Browns game?
Yep, Browns, Houston.
Okay, I'm going to say that Nick Chubb scores from 40 yards out twice.
Okay, that's a 10-pointer.
Yeah,
I was wondering how Pat was going to play this entire segment. We now know. Bucket, half-court shots. Let's go. That's a 10-pointer.
Eerily specific half-court shots.
Yeah, I like it. All
right, Pete, what do you want?
I'll do the move that Spags tries to do against me, Pat, which is like leverage against my pick to where I miss and then he wins. So I will say I would assume this would be a 3-pointer. Kareem Hunt outscores Nick Chubb.
I think that's a fair 3-pointer, yeah.
Okay.
For me, I will say that I'll say Donovan Peoples-Jones 100-yard and a touchdown. That feels like a 10-pointer.
What do you think, Pat? What are the odds of that
feels
happening?
Like a 3-pointer.
Really? Do we like DPJ that much?
I mean,
how about this?
You know,
boost it up to 120 yards and a touchdown. I'll give you 10.
Yeah.
How about 110?
115.
Done. 115 and a touchdown for Donovan Peoples. Hoping that all those air yards poured over from Anthony Schwartz to Donovan Peoples-Jones, but yeah, I feel like you guys really screwed me on this
Denzel
one.
Mims.
Peoples-Jones had one target against Kansas City, and all of a sudden he's going to be this world beater. Unfair.
I mean, we literally wrote a blurb about Donovan Peoples-Jones every day this summer about how good he looked, and then it's just like, oh no, it's Anthony Schwartz.
Like, we all knew Anthony Schwartz was a sleeping tiger, and he was just waiting to be awoken in a game environment like that last one. Next game up, San Francisco, 26.3 implied points. Philadelphia, 3-point dog at home, 23.3 implied points. Book line on this one is -3 for San Francisco. The Edge Sports line -1, so maybe a little bit of a benefit here to taking the Eagles. And I'll actually go first on this one because I'll completely eschew the order of things, and I will say Philadelphia wins this one outright. And I guess this is something we haven't done before, Pete. Can I parlay that to get more points out of it? Because I feel like the outright win is probably a 3-pointer.
Sure. I'll let you parlay it.
Okay, so I will parlay that with 100 yards and a TD for Devonta Smith.
Okay. All right, I'll allow that. I am going to just do Elijah Mitchell. I'm seeing projected for 11.7 points. I'll say Elijah Mitchell is the truth. I'll say he goes over 20 DK points for a 3-pointer.
All right, Pat, do you want to take some Elijah Mitchell chalk like Pete, or you want to go somewhere else?
He's not going to be chalk. That's what's crazy.
That's true. That is true.
Yeah, I can't tell if that means we just made a huge mistake on waivers or what, or he should be chalk. I don't know. One of them is wrong. Is this a 3-pointer? I'll say George Kittle outscores Deebo Samuel.
What is there?
I mean, the projections for Deebo, it's like a big jump after week 1 from what I'm seeing. Osmo has him at 18.2, Kittle at 14.4. So
I have those. I think that's a 1-pointer because they're so close that I'm seeing in like projections.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm okay with that. I would give him a 3-pointer too because Pat's a guest and we do tend to be a little bit nicer.
Fine. Let's give him 3 points, but I don't feel good about it.
How would you look at Pat and not give him what he wants? Look at that face.
He did the Nick Chubb double 40-yard TD.
I gave him a lot of equity on that one. I could have said once probably and you would have given me 10.
All right, next game up, we got New Orleans 24 implied points. There we go. Got one from Corey on the screen there for Brandon Egg. Aaron Egg has to be slightly better, one would hope. Maybe for a 10-pointer, yeah, 1 catch. New Orleans 24 implied points going into Carolina, 3.5-point dog at home. It looks like the edge line on this one is going to be closer to 2, so keep that in mind if you want to make a bet on it. And then I guess Pete, you can go first on this one.
Okay, I will say, can I get how many points do I get for Christian McCaffrey, not a top 5 running back on the slate?
That's a 3, I think.
Okay, what number do I have to do to get 10?
10, top 10.
Okay, let's do it. Let's push the chips in. I like Christian McCaffrey this week. I just want 10 points.
Pat, do you agree with Pete's slander of the unequivocal #1 running back who had 30 touches in his last game?
No, I don't.
Not quite.
I mean, I will say, like, we don't know what happened last week with the Saints. It was really weird what they did to the Packers. It's certainly possible that their defense is awesome. No one really expected that, but and I also think that the Panthers got a little bit lucky in their week 1 matchup with the Jets. Like, I don't think the Jets offense is going to end up being very good. So things could get kind of ugly for the Panthers. So it's not crazy.
Thank you.
All right, what do you want for your pick in this one, Pat? And it's worth pointing out again, I'm just going to read the DVOA numbers for New Orleans real fast. Apparently, they were minus 46% in DVOA in that matchup against Green Bay. Also against rushers, minus 42.3%. So I guess that does lend a little credence to Pete's bet here. But Pat, take what you want.
How many points does DJ Moore need to score for him to be a 3-pointer?
A 3-pointer?
Over 20 is normally a safe threshold. Yeah,
I'll say that.
Okay, so that's a reasonable one. Sam Darnold didn't look that bad in week 1 either. For me, I will take Jameis continues his tour de force. The Renaissance de Jameis continues with another 4-touchdown game. Is that a 10-pointer?
Another 4 touchdown? Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, he had 5 last week, so to be clear, I am saying he's not going to quite get to the same heights, but like over 4, that feels brave. That feels brave enough.
Right. On the one hand,
I'm realizing the real key to this game is figuring out exactly where the line is at 10 points and just hitting that. I need to.
Yeah.
There's layers of nuance, and it really also there's a human capital component to it with Pete and my negotiations, and then how nice we're going to be to the guests. Like Pete knows you better. We've done shows, so we're going to be probably meaner to you than we would be to like a Reef when he comes on. So I don't know.
Well, there's also an entertainment standpoint, and I'm willing to entertain the crowd while you knit it up and just, make picks that no one gets excited about. I make people feel things when I say my absurd picks, Spags.
That's true. You stir up their emotions, their loins.
Christian McCaffrey, not a top 10 back?
Yeah, definitely. When people smash their laptop, that's a sign you've done a good show.
Oh, wow.
Oh, what happened? Pete going
Even
blurry.
Your camera hated that take.
There we go. Hates a lot.
He's good with that old school like aging TV host camera where it just gets blurrier every year, so you can't see the wrinkles. Also, I need to point out we got 115 people in Pete's stream right now, only 27 likes. So please hit that like button, guys. Does help Pete out and does help out all your favorite content creators on YouTube a bunch. So please hit that like button. Next game, Cincinnati 21.8 implied points, Chicago 23.8 implied points. The book line on this one's -2, Edge Sports line -3. So pretty efficient. And I guess Pat, we're back to you to go first.
Damian Williams outscores David Montgomery.
Now that's a 10-pointer.
Yeah, it's a 10. I think it's a 10. I guess I'll go second on this one, and I will say that with Chicago DVOA numbers were real bad in week 1. I'll say Joe Mixon. Okay, I don't know if I want a 10-pointer for Mixon. Pete, what would be 150 yards total all-purpose yards for Joe Mixon and a touchdown?
This is where we get into weird territory where that's probably like a 5 or a 6-pointer, so it has to be a 3. No rounding up here.
All right. You know what? I'll take it at the 3 because I do feel like it's pushing it to get to the 10. So I'll take 150 yards and a TD for Joe Mixon.
All right, I'll take a 3-pointer. Tyler Boyd outscores Joe Mixon.
Oh, you son of a bitch. I don't know if that's the best probability bet, but I do get the leverage. All right, next game up, Buffalo, 25.3 implied points. Miami, 22.3 implied points. And this is one where the Edge Sports line does think that Miami could win it. -1 for them is the line, but it is a +3 for Miami at home in this one. Pete, what do you want in this game between Buffalo and the Dolphins?
I will say for 10 points, Stephon Diggs, highest scoring wide receiver on the slate.
Okay. I don't know, that doesn't even feel like a 10-pointer. He's the highest projected wide receiver on the slate, I think.
Yeah, but if you look at the probability of anyone being the highest scoring, even the best, it's probably like a 12 or 13% for even the best chance.
You're right, but I think that goes against the logic we've had in this game.
What do you mean?
Well, like, we don't, because if a guy's a top projected play, we're basically treating them like they're the top receiver already for how we've played the game.
Right, but the way the scoring works is based on the probability that an event happens. 50% chance, 1-pointer, 25 to 30, 3-pointer, 10% or less. It's a 10-pointer.
Oh, how I hate sharpening up Pete, who knows win probabilities now for all these different bets. But fine.
Your crusade to paint me as anti-analytics keeps failing here.
Yeah, anti-vaxxing, anti-data, that's all Pete cares about. Pat, I'll let you go before me in this one. What do you want, Buffalo, Miami?
I mean, I wanted to do a Stephon Diggs one, so
you can do Diggs still.
I'll say Gabriel Davis scores a touchdown. Is that
okay.
A 3?
I think that's a 3.
Yeah, I think it's a 3. For me, Pete does hate data. That's just one of the things we know. He sees data and he goes and just smashes it.
I won't be checking out any walkthroughs, fellas. I'll tell you that much.
My pick in this one will be okay. I know you guys are both fairly, or at least I know Pete's very big. I don't know, Pat, about your stance on him, but Devontae Parker scores 6 more fantasy points than Jalen Waddle. What does that feel like?
This feels like you staring at your exact projections, trying to milk a little value out.
Adding 1 point.
Yes.
Oh, all right. I'll say, you know what? I'll just go for the gusto. How about Devontae Parker doubles up in fantasy points, Jalen Waddle?
Yeah, you could have fun with that. Yeah.
Okay. What's the point total for that? Is that a 10?
Doubles up, yeah.
Okay.
Doubles up.
Yeah, I think
10.
that's probably a 10.
All right. I don't know that I actually believe it, but this is kind of the game we're playing now. We're just throwing the ball up in the air and hoping it lands somewhere. Las Vegas.
Pete not in on Parker?
Do I not get to make a pick? Oh no!
I thought you did.
Sorry, I wanted to do a Dolphins one. I forgot I already made a Bills.
Yeah,
one.
you did Diggs. Yeah, see, I was so on the ball that you made me question how on the ball I was. That's how it goes. Vegas 20.5 implied points coming off their big win. Pittsburgh a 6-point favorite here or at home, which is kind of surprising. 26.5 implied points. The line here on the books 6 points. Edge line is at 4. Pete, you can go first on this one, so you can just have another pick. Why not?
Yeah, let's do Chase Claypool over 20 DraftKings points.
Ooh, okay. So no deep targets for Chase Claypool week 1. That's the way you're going. I will go for me. I'll say Deontay. Oh, all right. Deontay Johnson outscores Chase Claypool. That's a 3-pointer, right?
No, that's a 1-pointer.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is it? Okay. Deontay Johnson doubles up Chase Claypool.
You can't slander Claypool's role in one breath and then want to say that he's the underdog to Deontay Johnson in the next.
All right, fine. You're all right. I want to get something that's lower. You know what, Pat, I'll let you go first here because I need to think about some way to both leverage against Pete and also get more points.
I'll say Juju Smith-Schuster is the highest scoring Steelers wide receiver.
Okay, that's a 3-pointer.
Okay. I will say, okay, you know, how about this? This is not a lot of routes.
We've all chosen our fighter of these 3 wide receivers.
What if I said Pat Freiermuth and Eric Ebron outscore the collective wide receivers of Pittsburgh?
Yeah, you could do that because Ebron's probably not going to play.
Okay, so there you go. So that's is that a 10-pointer?
I mean, you picked a guy who's not going to play, so I'd give it to you.
Sure.
Yeah, but that's why I picked the both of them, so I get the reciprocal benefit of having.
They have
Steelers tight end versus outscores all the wide receivers.
Yep.
Okay, sure.
Okay.
Okay.
Do you get like additional tight ends? Like if they?
Yeah, I mean, if Vance
bring back,
McDonald
like, Jesse
exists and he
James or
somehow
whatever?
shows up, I guess he would count. I'll take it.
I'll allow it.
Okay.
All right, next game up, Denver 25.5 implied points, Jacksonville 19.5 implied points. So 6-point spread here favoring Denver. It is a 4-point line according to Edge Sports. That's another thing, by the way, Pat, like that frustrates me and I'm sure is going to be confusing for people out there. Pat works at NBC Sports Edge. I work at Edge Sports with a J, and I feel like we just all need to agree as a community that we're not going to use the words edge and like all these repeating things. It's just confusing at this point.
You're really throwing your new employer under the bus today.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying it, and I'm like,
and also trying to start a war with NBC with this whole walkthrough thing, the Edge. Well, we got some beefy now, Spags.
It's good natured beef. I'm hoping.
Okay.
I think it's not Tupac Biggie beef though. I guess we can find out.
Yeah, let's not take it too far.
Pat, I'll let you go first in this one. I think I don't know what the order is, but you can go. Denver and Jacksonville.
Let's see. I will say James O'Shaughnessy.
Oh God.
Ooh.
Outscores Noah Fant.
Oh God. After this is coming after you yelled at me about Noah Fant's upside.
Oh, that's why it's a 10-pointer.
That's a sneaky 10-pointer. It probably, I mean, even I'll allow it. I'll allow it as a 10-pointer. It's closer to a 3 though.
Yeah. Also, Shaughnessy ran 40 routes last week, which seems
Pat
ridiculous.
knows what he's doing. He knows what he's doing.
It's honestly
like, James O'Shaughnessy.
I don't even know who he is.
You know, Shaughnessy had 8 intended touches last week. He had 8 targets, so that's something. Pete, what do you want in this one?
I'll do a 10-pointer. I'll do Visca has an A.dot over 2.4.
That's a 20-pointer.
Cortland Sutton outscores Jerry Jeudy. What are we
allow
getting?
That.
You can't allow that. I want that one.
Spags isn't listening. He's letting that one slip by. Pat had to stop you.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm glad somebody's pushing back here. I'm too focused on my own picks because I want to win.
All right, I'll say Visca over 20 DraftKings points for 3 points.
Okay. Look, Visca's due. I think the real issue for Visca is that I put my stamp of approval on him too and was like, Pete, I think you're finally right. This is gonna be the breakout year after that preseason and not looking good.
Just relax.
Yeah, we'll see. It's early. That's what we could say.
Very early.
How about Tim Patrick, highest scoring pass catcher in the entire game? Is that a 10?
That's a 10.
Sure.
Okay. There we go. Tim Patrick, ride or die. Next game up, we got the Rams, 25.8 implied points. Indianapolis, 22.3 implied points. 4-point line here, according to the books. According to Edge Sports, like a -2 line. So might be one for trying to get the Colts to cover, which I don't know if I love that. But I'll go first in this one. I'll take Matthew Stafford throws for over 400 yards. Is that something that would be a 10-pointer?
No, that's like a 5. So we got to round it down to a 3.
What if we go 450?
25.
455?
You're trying to go higher? Sure.
Oh, I didn't hear what you
Yeah.
said. Sorry, what was it?
Done.
420. All right, a 455-yard day for Matt Stafford gets me 10 points. What do you want, Pete?
Let's see. I want 10 points if Tyler Higbee doesn't play every snap again this week.
No, I was gonna do. He does play every snap.
So then both 10 pointers. No, okay. Let's. I'll do. Deshaun Jackson scores a TD from 50 yards out.
Okay, I think that's a reasonable one. Pat, what do you want?
I'll do all Colts wide receivers on under 10 DraftKings points.
Wow, bearish.
Yeah, I mean, tough shares for these guys. They were getting the ball all of them got the ball less than 6% of the snaps they were on the field, which is not looking the best for the Colts, but hopefully they'll figure some stuff out.
Does that get me 10? Is that a 10er?
I think so. That seems pretty unlikely.
It feels aggressive enough. I'll give it 10. I don't know if Pete, if you've caught on my strategy. I'm going for all 10s today, so I think we should give out more 10s to Pat and you as well.
No, yeah, Willis pointed it out. He wanted me to get more aggressive. My plan has been to play it up like I'm the crazy guy and then doing a bunch of 3-pointers so I actually win.
that's what that way you win. That's how I win. To quote the the Uncut Gems version of that meme. New England 24.5 implied points. The Jets 18.5 implied points. We talked about this one earlier. Books have the line -6. Edge Sports has the line as -3, so it might be actually a spot where the Jets could cover this one. Pat, you can go first. Who do you want from the Patriots or the Jets?
I'll say, God, this one. What am I doing here? Jacoby Myers is the highest scoring pass catcher in the game.
Is that a 3?
Yeah, that's a 3. There's
Okay.
not a lot
Pass
of great
catcher?
pass catcher.
Let me make it receiver. Let me make it wide receiver then. If I'm only getting 3.
I think it's still a 3.
I don't think that helps your cause.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying.
wow,
I want to tighten it up. I want to tighten it up.
Tyler Kroft.
Okay, you want to tighten it up?
Oh,
All right.
okay. That's fair.
That's an interesting move. I should try to consider tightening it up sometime.
I mean, if I'm not getting if I'd make a better 3,
Wait, is this breaking news here? Josh Jacobs out on Sunday?
Oh, wow.
Pat, do you have a blurb to write?
Yep.
Nick
Yeah, 1 minute ago.
Is going to be busy without me.
Okay. None of us had a Jacobs related ride or die, correct?
No, but I would certainly bump up Kenyon Drake by a pretty good margin.
Yeah. Too late.
Yeah.
Ride
Well,
or die is
for the
lost.
people out there, we also are trying to help people out there instead of just dick measuring here.
Oh yeah, thank you for that valuable information. Kenny Drake's gonna get more work now that Josh Jacobs.
Somebody might
Hang
not
on.
know out there. That's entirely possible.
What's your process? How did you get there?
Well, I subtracted 1 from the running back depth chart and then added that to Kenyon Drake.
Okay. I am going to do. Is it a 10-pointer if I say Elijah Moore outscores Damian Harris?
Yes.
Thank you. I'll take it.
Okay. I'll allow it.
That's a 10er?
I think so.
Wait, Jacoby Myers is the highest scoring guy, and
I mean, but Elijah Moore was a non-factor, and now there's 2 more receivers coming in for the Jets, and he's projecting him to outscore a guy who had over 25 touches. Like, I don't know. I know
how to play into Spags' running
that's
back
true.
bias.
Yeah, you're using my biases against me, which is just hurtful. I'll say for me, this worked as a 10-pointer last week, and I think it should still be a 10-pointer, Pete. Nelson Aguilar, highest scoring pass catcher in the game.
No, that's the same. That's the same
That's what
thing
I just
Pat
tried to
just
do.
tried to do.
Well, last week, though, it was a 10-pointer. Why is it not this week?
Because they were playing the who are they playing?
Dolphins?
I don't remember why I allowed that, but I wish I never would have. And I'm not going to make the same mistake again.
Okay. I'll take it as a 3-pointer then. I'll accept that.
Correct.
All right. Next, I think you just say correct when I do the thing that you wanted to do.
Correct.
Correct. Next game up, Atlanta, 19.5 implied points. Tampa Bay, 32 implied points. The line on this one looks pretty efficient. -13 for Tampa Bay. Edge Sports line is going to be -12 for Tampa Bay. And I guess I'm due to go first in this one, and I will take Mike
first.
Evans, 100 yards and a TD for 10 points. Yeah?
100 yards and a TD for 10 Spags. 125 yards and a TD.
110 and a TD.
115, our sweet spot.
112.5 and a TD.
113, and I am not going lower.
Done. 113 and a TD for Mike Evans, agreed upon. Pat, what do you want here? And if you want to make it a similar negotiation, please feel free.
Ronald Jones 2 tutties for 10.
That's a 10. And I was also going to do a Ronald Jones 10-pointer. And that is Ronald Jones. And notice how I'm not going to make this site or contest specific, but he wins someone $1 million this weekend in a DFS contest.
I feel like there's only one option for that.
There's a couple millionaire makers this week.
Oh, are there? Okay. All right. Fair enough. So
Just a little
And
loophole there.
which one are you playing him in?
The cheaper one.
Also, can we talk real fast about Mike Davis? He's going to be good, right? Like, he's going to be good one of these weeks. Probably not going to be against Tampa Bay, given that they're the best run defense maybe that's ever lived, though. I guess DVOA wasn't the most friendly to them in week one. But Pat, I'm sure you've given Mike Davis takes on your other shows, but where do you stand on the great debate that occurred in the latter half of the preseason?
You have the wrong guest on to try to get some.
I know. I assume. I presume he's going to be. But you can't rank him lower than Rojo, I'll tell you what.
Can you?
You sure can. No, I mean, he had a big workload. Like, he had a very strong, if you look at expected points and stuff like that, very strong workload last week. Kind of everything that the pro Mike Davis crowd was saying was going to happen, happened. But then also everything the anti-Mike Davis crowd said would happen also happened, and he was hyper inefficient. I think one thing that's interesting about Davis is that if you look at Arthur Smith with the Titans, they didn't really throw any screens to the running backs. And you didn't see that last week either. Now he's going up against a really tough rush defense, so I think he can get there on receptions, but I don't think he's going to get there on like early down screens plus dump offs. Like, I think the play is basically just hoping he gets a ton of dump offs. So I'm pretty out on him this week.
Okay, so I think it's a reasonable take. If you were not going to play Mike Davis, certainly on paper, this would be the week to do it, given what we know of Tampa Bay. Next game up, we got Minnesota getting 23.5 implied points, Arizona 27 implied points, and an interesting spot here for Arizona, given how good they looked last week. Pete, you can go first.
How many points for Rondell Moore, leading scorer on the Cardinals, running backs included?
That's got to be a 10-pointer.
Thank you. Done.
Yeah, I think. All right, Pat, what do you want?
AJ Green does not have a catch.
Oh.
That makes you sad.
I feel bad for AJ Green. Like, I think my case for him was that he had a 46% catch rate last year. I'm like, can't get worse. And then it was basically exactly where it was in week one. Small sample size, though, for sure.
Eventually, Spags, you put your hand in the old, NFL player flame enough, and you finally realize you don't like that feeling. But you haven't quite realized it yet.
Well, Melvin Gordon looked pretty good, looked pretty spry too, Pete. So maybe
that was
there's
your
a little...
one old W. Enjoy it because Javante's about to flip him.
All right. Well, the ageism
is that 10, by the way? Do I get 10 out of
that? Did you say no catches?
No catches.
How many catches did he have last week?
He's now not one of the top 3 salaried receivers.
He's running all the routes. He's out there on every single route on the Cardinals. This feels like pretty low probability.
All right, I'll get it. See, it's probably like a 5 or a 6-pointer. We'll give him a guess 10-pointer. I'm siding with. Yeah.
AJ had 6 targets, 2 catches last week. So he actually technically got worse than last year with a 33%.
Like I said, it's like a 5 or 6-pointer, but we don't allow those for some reason. We've just always been that way. We'll give you a
It's
guess,
honestly
Ryan.
funny, too, because this is a show that's a football show. Why do we not do 137? Or like 137-10 even?
Or 1. I mean, why 1 is not one's the least
an extra
number
point.
of all.
One's the loneliest
Yeah,
number.
but you can't score it on its own.
There's lots of problems with this show, and honestly, that's one of the least of them. So,
yeah, that's a fair. I guess it starts from the top down on this show. Things that could be better. For me, I'll take Arizona wins. What's the 10-pointer here, Pete? If they win by 2 touchdowns, is that 10?
What's the spread, Spags?
Spread is -4.
-4. If they win by 2, a 10-pointer would be sure. What do you think, Pat? Win by 17?
Yeah, that sounds like a 10.
All right, fine. I'll take the Cardinals win by 17 will be my 10-pointer.
There you go.
I think Minnesota's going to get some tough times. Tennessee 23.8 implied points next game. Seattle 30.3 implied points in this one. And Pete, you can go first. I think you just might have gone first, but do it again.
I will say. I mean, everyone's playing Chris. How many points do I get for DK Metcalf outscores Chris Carson? Feels like a 3-pointer.
I think it's a 3. Yeah.
Thank you. Done.
All right, Pat. What do you want?
Well, I'll take. God, this is a tough game because I want it to be, but I don't think the Titans are really going to show up. What do I get for Derrick Henry less than 10 DraftKings points?
That's a 3.
Yeah, I think it's a 3.
Does that every other week, Pat?
Okay, I'll take the 3.
Take the 3.
I will take. What about 2 pass catchers from Seattle have over 25 fantasy points?
To combined?
No, each. So they combine for over 50.
Oh,
Sure.
Okay, for a 10?
I feel like that's a 10.
Fine.
I like getting to this part of the show where Pete's just beaten down and willing to give me him.
I think that's a decent. That's like an 8.
It's an 8. It's an 8, but we don't have 8, so I'll round up.
All right. Next game up, the big one, Dallas 25.8 implied points, Chargers 29.3 implied points. All the stacks on the line. Pat, what do you want in this game?
Wait, sorry. Just to clarify on the rules, you don't have 8s, but do you have 9s?
No.
We don't have 9s.
We do have 1s, 3s, and 10s. Can I interest you in one of those? We are out of 4, 5, 6, 7, 8s, and also 2s.
Well, the issue is at 7, 8, 9, I think.
Yeah. So we're doing the Chargers?
Yes.
Austin Eckler scores 40 draft points.
That's a
40.
10-pointer.
Okay, that's
How's he going to do that without catching any passes, Pat?
He's gonna do it by catching passes because he catches passes. I love the Austin Eckler freak out of what if he doesn't catch passes anymore? It's Austin Eckler.
All right.
Is it a 10-pointer, Pete, if Mike Williams were to outscore every single pass catcher in this game?
Yes.
Okay, that's my pick.
I mean, it's a savvy pick by you. It's probably like a 6.5-pointer, but we don't have those. So I will give you the 10.
They're all sold.
What was mine? I feel like mine was like a 15-pointer.
I think yours it's a 13 on the Richter scale for sure.
Yeah, you're doubling the projection plus a little bit more. You're giving a tip on the doubling the projection.
Because I want the people to think. I'm trying to get them going. I'm trying to provide.
It's a thought starter, really. It's not this isn't so much a game or a competition as it is just kicking out thought starters.
It just crossed my mind to say. I'll take Cowboys with the points and then just in the broadcast. I will take. I'll take 10 points. Tony Pollard outscores Zeke.
Okay, is that really a 10-pointer?
Oh, come on! Where is your God now? Yeah, of course that's a 10-pointer.
Where is my God now?
Yeah, I don't think
it was like a bit of an overreaction.
I would have assumed you love Zeke.
I do love Zeke. That's fine. I'll give it. We've been generous with 10-pointers today, I think, though. I should negotiate back at you, I feel like, based on previous precedent.
So it's an 8-pointer, but we don't have those, so it is a 10-pointer.
It's a 10-pointer. Last game on the Sunday slate. Of course, this is Sunday Night Football. Kansas City Chiefs, 29 implied points. Baltimore, 25.5 implied points. Books have it as -4. Edge Sports Lines -2. So if you're going to have a fun Sunday bet, I would try to take the points here. But what are you feeling about it, Pat, to close us out for Sunday Night Football? And just for the update here, we do usually pick just the showdown captain, and that's a guaranteed 10-pointer.
Oh, okay. Like the correct showdown captain.
Yeah. We've also been kind of ruling out some people that are very obvious, but I feel like in this game nobody's that obvious because there's too many good guys, so you can just take whatever.
The pricing, takes care of it too. I mean, it's hard for those guys to sometimes be it. Go for it.
I haven't looked at the pricing on Showdown at all. Also, the chat is yelling at me for not tightening up my Eckler bet, but that's not the point. The point is to get you guys thinking.
No.
So I will take Mark Andrews to outscore Travis Kelce.
Okay. All right, that is spicy.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take Mecole Hardman, winning showdown captain, doubling, tripling, quadrupling down.
I will
was
take
mine 10, by the way.
So you were supposed to pick a showdown captain. Do you want to say Mark Andrews?
Captain?
Generally, the show dictates that you do have to.
Then I'll pick Mark Andrews. I don't even know his price, but he's going to be the guy.
I don't know Mecole's.
It's going to be cheap enough that anybody's not a QB, I think, is pretty much eligible. I would say for me, I will take Marquise Brown. I don't want to leverage against Pat of all people. I would prefer to leverage against Pete, but I will take Marquise Brown, showdown winning captain.
Also didn't practice today. Done.
Wait, I thought he did practice. I thought he was back today, but was out the last 2 days.
He was out yesterday. I haven't seen the updated.
I think he practiced today.
You're so excited to dunk on me. You don't even care about factual accuracy for the people out there.
Did practice yesterday. I'd be pretty concerned with that pick.
Here we got in the chat too, Alex Berg saying Tyreek Hill 40 DK points, 1-pointer. Based on the show went, I think that actually would have been the case. Pete would have said that's a 2.5 pointer, so it's basically a 1.
Yeah. We don't have 2.5 pointers, so we do have to round down.
All right, Pat, give the people the plugs here. You are doing great work over at NBC Sports Edge. People, I'm sure if they're watching this show, they are checking out Ship Chasing, but if not, make sure to check that out. One of the best football podcasts out there, I guess, besides this one. So, Pat, the floor is yours. Plug whatever you please.
Yeah, Ship Chasing. We just had our first Waiver Wire show of the year. Better organized than last year when we were trying to frantically put in bids. But at the same time, we did just give away our bids minutes before they locked, so that wasn't ideal either. So the first Waiver Wire show is always fun. We're going to be doing that every Wednesday, 9:15. We kind of talk through the waivers right up until lock for the high stakes leagues. And then, yeah, I've got this new column that I mentioned earlier. A lot of the stats that I was referencing for this show are coming right out of that column, previewing all the games. Very excited to get this out Friday walkthrough. That's actually funny because Pat Doherty's column is called the Sunday Aftermath. So the fact that we're named Pat, I'm now mixing up our columns. But mine is called the Friday walkthrough. That'll be out later today. And then I also mentioned on Sunday nights we're gonna have a pod out. We had this out last week. We're going to be doing it every week. I'm talking to all of the blurbers who cover all of the NFL games for us and getting a recap of every single NFL game that'll hit your podcast feeds late Sunday night, Monday morning. So that. Always look for that because I think that's going to be a great way to just kind of realize what happened very quickly if you didn't have a chance to see all the games.
And if for some reason you don't have YouTube, watch it on Peacock. Watch some of the content on there too. That's exciting to see you guys get on there. And I think a good move for really the industry overall to have some of that stuff in the ecosystem. Pete, you have a million plugs, I'm sure, but pick your most choice plugs to close us out.
Yeah, I will be back on Sunday morning to do a final kind of GPP strategy show, talk about all of those late movements with ownership and news. So if you guys are building lineups, 10:30 on Sunday morning.
Yep, so go check that out. Make sure to follow at Pat Kerrane, follow at Peter Overzet, follow at Chris Spags. Also, make sure to go to footballoutsiders.com/subscribe. Check out all the packages on there. I mean, there's actually just one. I'm so used to the Osmo shill where I need to adjust my shilling accordingly. There's just one package on there, and it's very cheap. So go get the FO Plus data in your life over there because we appreciate them presenting this show. And make sure to go rate us on Apple Podcasts, 5 stars and a review. If you leave a review with your @ handle on there, we will find you and enter you in a contest to be a guest here. Realistically, honestly, I can't imagine we're going to get that many entries. There is a very high probability of you being a guest on this very show if you go leave us 5 stars and a review. So go do that. We appreciate you guys for tuning in. Enjoy your weekends and good luck.